Springfield. You were a bit worried about that third step, weren't you?
I was indeed. I had to look at it very carefully.
We were just analysing it, you know, in the programme. You have managed to span the decades very well, with great ease.
Well, I'm glad it looks that way. It wasn't always very easy. The 70s were a fairly difficult time, so it took me a long time to make a transition personally. But so far, so good. It's amazing.
But back with new recordings, new album, new single. Now, have you found that the people within the business have changed very much?
No. They're still the same crooks as they were. We all are, I think. I think that I find it easier to get along with people now, whether that's me or whether there was so much struggling in the 60s. I don't have any super affection for the 60s because I was trying to get out of the sounds of the 60s, things that are possible to get now. So I made an approximation of what I could get on 4 tracks in the 60s, but it was a struggle to get those sounds. And so I find that I'm much more comfortable now when there are so many technical advantages.
Yes, because you've been working a lot, obviously, with the Pet Shop Boys, with Neil Tennant. Now, in the past, you've said that he's very patient with you in the studio. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, he was quoted recently as saying, Dusty thinks she can't sing and she's frightened that she's going to be found out. He's actually quite a good psychologist. I think he's very able to see through me. And I suppose there is an element of that in me that, you know, my heroes were always the Aretha Franklins of the world. Therefore, since I'm a white Irish lapsed Catholic, therefore I'm a sham. I mean, sometimes that comes through. In one line that will come through in the next line, because somebody says, no, you can't do that, I'll do it, the defiance comes out. So it's a bit of a muddle. But most of the time, I'm a lot more comfortable with things now than I was then.
Well, what's fascinating about you, though, is despite your enormous success since the 60s and all during the 60s, you've always had this self-doubt, you know, not being necessarily proud of your achievements. So why is that?
I think part of that was probably some kind of conceit or arrogance, although I tried not to show it, that I perhaps knew better than the people who were praising me. And something happened to me, maybe when I wasn't getting as much praise. I must have been very spoilt. But recently it's come to me that what matters is that somebody has enjoyed what you do. And somehow that seems to have cut out my own super self-destructive, self-critical part of me. I'm able now to accept that my job is to try to please people. If they don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it. But at least my job is to try to connect, and that's what it's about. And I don't know where that came from, but I'm very grateful it came. It took a long time.
And is it true that, you know, particularly in the old days, that you would literally hide behind your makeup?
Oh, I think I still do, look. It is, I don't know, during the last year since I've moved back to England, something's happened, and it was quite by chance that I go to, it's out of necessity because my cat's always getting in fights. Okay, there are 2.5 acres out the back, and they're little houses in a row. They're almost like mews houses, but they're in the country. Therefore, it is necessary for me to go and rescue my cat from the jaws of some monster. And It's never when I've got my eye makeup on. It's never when I've got my eye. It's like first thing in the morning, you're sitting there stunned with your first cup of coffee and you hear, wah! So I rush out, and it's like, it's got to me that it doesn't matter. I can go and sit with my neighbors now. I don't have to worry about my makeup. You know, I can go with a scarf on my head or something, and it doesn't matter to them. It never occurred to me before that it wouldn't matter to people.
You spent about 15 years away from Britain.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you doing in the States during that time?
Well, first I was working a lot, but the tendency is when you're working a lot in another country, although less so now since everything's got so global, but certainly in the early 70s, people would think if you were working furiously in nightclubs, they either thought you were dead or insane over here. And it's much the same when you're in California. Living there, unless you keep an eye, a professional eye, which I was doing, on what's happening over here. There are some Americans that come and work here and people think that they're dead or insane. It's a big world. It's less so now. But I was working very hard, and then I just got really tired with that kind of work. It was nightclubs and things like that, which I absolutely hated.
So in a way, you just opted out, did you?
I was lucky enough to, I mean, thank God I had a job where I could do that. I mean, it was a personal choice. A lot of people are stuck with having to go to the office every day of their lives. I mean, I realized the other day I've been doing this about 30 years. I mean, I took 4 years off, but the longest I'd ever held a job before that was 3 weeks. So I must actually quite like what I do.
Well, you seem to be happy, at any rate, living back in Britain again. You seem to have really settled.
I'm still capable of getting a tremendous lump in my throat. I get really teary at looking at parts of the Thames. I live near the Thames, and I realized how badly I missed it. How badly I missed that kind of slightly misty, rainy look, and there's plenty of that around. And then actually this last summer I wondered why I left California, because all the 2.5 acres was brown. And I thought, oh my God, I need never have left. But it started to rain a couple of weeks ago, and I was really grateful.
Well, Dusty, you're looking great, and I'm really pleased you joined us on Sunday Sunday. Thank you very much indeed. Dusty Springfield.
Thank you very much.
Well, now, after the break, an exclusive interview with Bruce Willis, so don't go away.